Hello and greetings to all. The purpose of this video is to provide my own thoughts as far as Black Lives Matter and the activism that is coming about in response to the brutalization of peoples of color in the hands of police and white supremacists at large. Now, I also intend to tie it into my indigenous advocacy, since after all, advocacy for indigenous causes is also interconnected with advocacy toward other issues that befall peoples of color, whether we be Native American, Chicano, Latino, African American, and whatnot. It is clear to see that we are all, to an extent, susceptible to anything that assails any one minority, especially in the hands of police or other any white supremacist groups. Now, a lot of people are responding rather cynically to the whole Black Lives Matter movement. They're seeing the George Floyd death as something that is being blown out of proportion, completely disregarding the fact that before George Floyd, during and after George Floyd, there are countless atrocities that have befallen not only African Americans, but also Hispanic, Latinos, Native Americans, who have been said of that are the highest mortality rates in the hands of police. They are responding by sharing all sorts of videos that are normally being shared by the right. Now, side note, I am not a leftist, I am not a rightist. I'll discuss that in a totally different video. But these right-wing videos that are resurfacing are showing African Americans ganging up on poor defenseless whites. Oftentimes the victims are of an ambiguous ethnicity, but they're light-skinned enough to where a lot of people are chiming in and saying, you see how blacks are evil and are ghetto or whatever, But in reality, let's not allow our empathy, our sympathy to become obscured. We have really got to step into the shoes of these individuals who are seeing their ethnicity at large as targeted. We must also not forget the past 500 plus years of history, of American history, that we're not taught in school. In school, of course, I've said it before, we are taught to glorify Caucasians, our founding fathers, the bravery of the men of this country and whatnot. And to anybody who's patriotic and is watching this video, this is not to undermine your patriotism, but let's be real about something. Whenever we study history through an unbiased scope, we really get to see atrocities of the past, the Trail of Tears, wherein Native Americans were forcibly removed from their ancestral homelands and forced to migrate to whatever territory whites had designated for Native Americans to inhabit. And these are not things from the past, and they continue to be ongoing. Let's stop saying that it's ancient history. It's not ancient history when it continues even to this day. 500 years have transpired since white people first set foot on this hemisphere, and we continue to see the same situations befalling peoples of color. Now, you sharing videos about black people ganging up on poor defenseless white people does not take away from the fact that there is an issue going on with white supremacy being exercised through the police force to continue the genocidal agenda of minimizing, decimating these populations of colored people. Now, a lot of people say, well, the cops involved, one of them was Hispanic, one of them was Asian, one of them was black. These people are still being maneuvered, utilized as pawns in their little scheme. Well, not a little scheme, since this is a worldwide affair with white supremacy, with whites wanting to remain in power, with the elite continuing to divide and conquer in order for us as peoples of color to remain divided and fighting over, will blacks do it too, will white people do it too? Let's consider the overall history of how this continent and how settlements all throughout the world have come about through brutality against the original inhabitants of that country, through bringing in people, stealing them off of their old continent to utilize them for forced slave labor, rob them of their culture, rob them of their religion and their language to give them a new one, just to show how racially superior you as a Caucasian is. So I understand one of the main tactics of the media is to polarize us. Let's rise above polarity. Oftentimes we wake up in the morning, we are extremely vulnerable. We watch a video which is going to make our allegiance swerve this way, then we see something else and we go this way. We just remain so polarized to the point that we are more easily maneuvered. What's left wing, what's right wing, what's Christian, what's pagan, what's white, what's non-white. It's just a series of polarizations. Now, a lot of people think that I'm polarizing by advocating for peoples of color. However, that's really not polarity. That is you breaking away from the polarity of the media, of just being like the wind from left to right, north and south, east and west, breaking away from the manipulative forces of the media and seeking to see things differently and tying them into everything that's been occurring. That is not something that started with George Floyd. It is not something that started 10, 20, 30, 50 years ago. It's something that has been ongoing ever since whites have encountered peoples of color whom they have deemed inferior and unworthy of retaining their own customs and traditions. I'm going to continue to discuss this in further videos, but for now, I do leave you with this video. I hope that you all share, comment, and like, and let me know what you think.